A chimpanzee spends about 6 hours a day chewing, just chewing. You spend about 10 minutes. Same job, same reason. But a chimp has a huge slab of jaw muscle, and you've got a jaw too weak to crack the nut it cracks open for fun. And here's the strange part. Left in a forest full of raw, wild food, you'd starve to death with a full stomach. So to understand why, you have to go back, way back. 3.5 million years, long before the first human, long before anyone tamed fire, a small creature crouches over a dead animal, picks up a sharp rock, and cracks a bone open for the soft food inside. And that's where it all started. You don't digest your food the way an animal does. You cheat. And you've been cheating since long, long before fire. So what did that rock actually start? And what did it quietly cost you? Your jaw has lost 1/3 of its power in the last 2 million years. Your teeth have shrunk. Your gut is short and stubby. Every one of those is a downgrade from the animal you're supposed to be. And every single one of them is the reason you're alive. You used to know how to get around without a screen. The way to your best friend's house. The shortcut past school. The way home if you got turned around. And now? Your phone dies in an unfamiliar part of town, and you're stuck on a corner, waiting for a signal bar to tell you which way to walk. Why memorize a map when your pocket carries one for you? That gap in your sense of direction isn't a flaw. It's a clue. Proof that a machine quietly took the job, and your brain happily let it go. And your jaw did the exact same thing. For millions of years, your ancestors chewed for hours a day. Then something started doing the chewing for them before the food even reached their mouths. And their jaws quit. In 2016, 2 Harvard scientists, Catherine Zink and Daniel Lieberman, measured it. Once you slice and pound your food, the chewing drops by roughly 2 million chews a year, and the bite loses about 15% of its force. Weaker jaw, smaller teeth. And, as anthropologist Catherine Milton found, one of the shortest guts of any ape alive. And that neat story you've probably heard, the one where your gut shrank to pay for a bigger brain? In 2011, a scientist named Anna Navarrete tested it across 100 animals. It fell apart. Big brains came with less body fat, not smaller guts. So your weak jaw and short gut were never the bill for your brain. They're that gap in your sense of direction. Your weak jaw isn't a flaw. It's a clue. But a clue means there's a bigger story behind it. So what's the story? Something out there started doing the work of your teeth and your stomach millions of years before the first fire. And it wasn't clever. It wasn't even alive. It was a rock. At a place called Dakika in Ethiopia, scientists found something in the dirt. Animal bones covered in cut marks. Someone sliced the meat off and cracked them open for the rich stuff inside. And those marks are 3.5 million years old. 1 million years before the first humans. Over 2 million years before anyone tamed fire. You know how this goes. You've been on the group project. You did the real work, quietly, for weeks. And then, on the very last day, someone who barely showed up drops in, slaps on a flashy title slide, presents it in a big loud voice, and walks off with the credit. Everyone remembers the finish. Nobody remembers who did the work. Well, fire is that person, and the rock is you. So what did the rock actually do? A sharp edge slices tough meat into soft strips, the kind your teeth could never chew on their own. And when you crack a bone open, you get the marrow, the richest food on the whole animal. No fire required. And it reshaped you, the same way it shrank that jaw. Those oldest stone tools we've ever found from a place called Lomacui are 3.3 million years old. And fire that people actually kept and used every day, barely 300,000. So that cavemen around a campfire picture everyone carries around? That's the sequel. The real story started millions of years earlier, and there wasn't a flame in sight. Fire got the credit. The rock did the work. But here's the one thing a rock can't do. It can cut. It can't unlock. A blade changes the shape of your food, but the energy inside stays exactly where it was. And a brain as hungry as yours needs that energy, and needs it fast. So cutting was only half the story. Something else had to start doing the unlocking. Your mouth waters at a chicken roasting in the oven. A raw one does nothing for you. And that reaction isn't fussiness, and it isn't manners. It's your body recognizing a head start. Something already broke the food down before you ever took a bite. You were built to want food that's already part digested. Because that's what cooking really is. Not flavor. Digestion. Heat breaks down tough meat and hard starch on the outside, so your gut doesn't have to fight to break them down on the inside. And you already own a machine that does the exact same job. A blender. A smoothie is just food that got chewed and mashed before it ever reached your mouth, so your body barely has to work to pull the goodness out. Cooking is that same trick, with heat instead of blades. Scientists call it external digestion, a stomach that sits outside your body. And here's how real this is. In 2007, researchers fed pythons the same meal 2 ways, raw and cooked. The snakes given the cooked meat spent about a quarter less energy digesting it. Same meat, same snake. The heat had done part of the snake's digesting for it before the animal even swallowed. And no python has ever owned a stove or cared how the meat tasted. Cooking is what finally does the unlocking. It doesn't add anything new. It just hands you the energy that was trapped there the whole time. And this isn't ancient history. It's happening on the back of every packet in your kitchen. That calorie number is a guess, worked out over 100 years ago. And for a lot of food, it's just wrong. Your body absorbs more calories from a cooked meal than from the same food raw. And that little number? It doesn't always know the difference. Your gut doesn't do all your digesting. Your kitchen does half of it. So cooking unlocked a flood of energy. And you probably think that energy came from meat, the dramatic hunt, the mammoth, the steak over the fire. But the food that actually grew your brain was sitting quietly in the ground the whole time. And it wasn't meat at all. The next time you tear into the warm bread before your meal's even arrived and feel a little guilty about it, you can stop. That craving isn't weakness. It's a very old instinct, your brain begging for the exact fuel that built it, and it goes deeper than a feeling. Some people are born with 2 copies of a certain gene. Others are born with 15. Its one job is to turn starch into sugar, and the number you happen to carry is a fingerprint of what your ancestors ate. And you can catch that gene working right now. If you keep a piece of plain bread in your mouth long enough, it slowly turns sweet. That's the starch being unlocked into sugar, live, by something in your spit called amylase. Your mouth starts digesting before you've even swallowed. Once that starch is cooked, a soft potato instead of a hard raw root, your body gets a clean rush of sugar. A hungry brain doesn't want a chewy steak. It wants sugar, right now. In 2015, a scientist named Karen Hardy laid out the case that cooked starch, not meat, fed our growing brains. Your brain burns more sugar than any other part of you, and a cooked root delivers it in a flood. And that gene from a moment ago? People whose ancestors ate a lot of starch carry more copies of it. Your body didn't just eat the potato, it rewrote itself to squeeze more from every bite. Scientists still argue the details, but the direction is clear. So that hunter dragging home a kill? He's not wrong. He's just not the main character. The thing that actually grew the brain in your skull was a boring, cooked lump from the ground. Your brain wasn't built by the hunt. It was built by the potato. So there it is. The rock, the fire, the potato. A string of tricks that handed your ancestors a bigger brain, a smaller gut, and hours of free time every single day. Sounds like nothing but good news. Except every one of those tricks sent a bill, and it's still coming out of your body today. Say you decided to eat only raw wild food for 1 week, not a supermarket salad, actual wild plants and raw meat, the way every other animal on Earth manages just fine. Within a few days, you'd be weak, cold, and losing weight fast. Your body simply can't pull enough energy out of raw food anymore. Somewhere along the line, you lost the ability to feed yourself like an animal. And this isn't a diet failing. It's a much bigger thing. Cooking didn't just feed your ancestors, it tamed them. The same way we tamed wolves into lapdogs and wildcats into little animals that meow to be fed. Somewhere in all that comfort, a creature forgets how to survive on its own. A pampered house cat put outside will just sit and blink at a bird it has no idea how to catch. Well, you're that cat, and cooking is what put you indoors. And there are people proving this right now. They eat only raw food, nothing cooked, ever, certain it's the natural way. They've got blenders, supermarkets, every advantage a caveman never dreamed of. And their bodies quietly start to shut down. In a study back in 1999, about a third of the women on a long-term raw diet stopped having periods. Their bodies decided there just wasn't enough energy coming in to run one. That's not a lifestyle. That's a body pulling the alarm. So this is the bill. Your ancestors bought a bigger brain and an easier life, and the price was that you could never go back. You're free and you're trapped in the exact same body. You didn't tame fire. Fire tamed you. You can't undo it. You can't uninvent the rock or the fire or the potato. Which leaves just one question worth asking. What exactly did you become? So here you are. Tonight, you'll finish a whole meal in about 10 minutes, with a jaw too weak to crack a nut and a gut too short to survive on raw. And that isn't a flaw. It's a clue. A rock, then fire, then a potato, quietly rebuilding you into the strange, soft, clever animal you are right now. You're not a wild animal anymore. You're a cooked one. But your body is only the first thing they rebuilt, because those same ancestors, the ones cracking bones open with rocks, did all of it without a single word. They couldn't speak, not one sentence. And whatever they used to understand each other instead, you're still using it every single time you read a stranger's face across a room.